Look well into thyself, there is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. There is a question no one is asking loudly enough. How intelligent is artificial intelligence? How dangerous is it? Or, how useful? The question that would have kept Marcus Aurelius awake, if Marcus Aurelius were alive today, is quieter and far more devastating. What happens to a man who no longer needs to think? In a world that fights your mind every second, few learn to govern their thoughts. Today you will be one of them. Welcome to the Aurelius Brain Channel. Shall we start it? The mind was never meant to be comfortable. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Meditations, Book V. The Stoics built their entire philosophy on a single, uncomfortable premise. The mind is a muscle, and like all muscles, it grows only through resistance. Marcus Aurelius did not have access to libraries the way we do. He did not have search engines, calculators, or systems that could summarize a century of philosophy in 3 seconds. What he had was the raw, slow, painful process of thinking, of sitting with a problem until it revealed itself, of wrestling with contradictions until wisdom emerged from the friction. He called this ascesis, deliberate practice of the mind. And he treated it not as a burden, but as the very definition of what it means to be human. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Meditations, Book V. Not the quantity of information available to you. Not the speed at which you can access answers. The quality of your thoughts. Now we have built a machine that thinks faster than we do. That writes better than most of us. That solves, summarizes, creates, and concludes, on demand, in seconds, without effort, without resistance. And we call it progress. Marcus would call it something else entirely. The outsourced soul. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Meditations, Book 6. There is a Roman concept that the Stoics held sacred, hegemonikon, the ruling faculty. The part of you that reasons, judges, decides. The seat of your character. For Marcus, protecting the hegemonikon was not optional. It was the central obligation of every thinking man. Because the moment you surrender your capacity to reason, to fear, to pleasure, to convenience, you stop being a man in any meaningful sense. You become a passenger in your own life. Now consider what we are doing with AI. We no longer write our own emails, we generate them. We no longer sit with difficult questions, we prompt them. We no longer tolerate the productive discomfort of not knowing, we eliminate it instantly, efficiently, completely. Every time you outsource a thought to a machine, something subtle happens. The muscle weakens. Not dramatically. Not in a way you notice on Monday morning. But over months, over years, the capacity for deep, independent, original thought quietly atrophies. Like a leg in a cast. Functional on the surface. Diminished beneath it. Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. Meditations, Book 3. The struggle to think, the resistance, the confusion, the slow emergence of an idea from nothing, is not an obstacle to intellectual life. It is intellectual life. And we are automating it out of existence. The seduction of effortless intelligence. Confine yourself to the present. Meditations, Book 8. Here is what makes AI different from every distraction that came before it. Television was passive. Social media was vain. But AI is useful, genuinely, undeniably, remarkably useful. And that usefulness is precisely what makes it so dangerous to the interior life. Because you cannot resist something that is helping you. You cannot argue against a tool that saves you hours. You cannot reject a system that makes you more productive, more articulate, more capable in the eyes of the world, even as it quietly erodes the very faculties that made you capable to begin with. The Stoics had a name for this kind of trap. They called it false good, something that appears to serve you while actually enslaving you. Marcus wrote about the seduction of comfort with a ferocity that surprises modern readers. He was an emperor. He could have had anything. And yet he returned obsessively to the same warning. Receive without pride, relinquish without struggle. Meditations, Book 8. AI does not steal your mind. It makes you offer it willingly, gratefully, with 5 stars and a glowing review. What Marcus would actually do. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Meditations, Book 7. Let us be precise here, because philosophy without honesty is just decoration. Marcus Aurelius was not anti-technology. He was not a romantic who idealized suffering. He was a pragmatist, a man who used every tool available to him to govern better, think clearer, live more fully. He would not reject AI, but he would use it the way a Stoic uses anything external, as a servant, never as a master, with clear boundaries, with deliberate restraint, with constant vigilance against the moment the tool begins to use him. He would write his own meditations, by hand, slowly, painfully, and only then perhaps use a machine to share them with the world. He would form his own opinion before consulting the algorithm. He would sit with the question before prompting the answer. He would protect, above all else, the sacred space between a problem and its solution, because he understood that that space is where character is built. The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. Meditations Book 2. The weapons of reason. Not the weapons of convenience. Not the weapons of outsourced intelligence. Reason, forged in the friction of thinking for yourself, even when it is slow, even when it is hard, even when a machine could do it better in 3 seconds flat. The only question that matters. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Meditations Book 6. AI will not destroy humanity through malevolence. If it diminishes us, it will do so through kindness, by solving every problem before we can struggle with it, by answering every question before we can sit with it, by smoothing every rough edge of intellectual life until the mind, finding no resistance, finds no reason to grow. The Stoics feared not the difficult life. They feared the easy one. And so the only question worth asking, the one Marcus Aurelius would inscribe on every screen if he could, is not whether AI is good or bad. It is this: when the machine can think for you, will you still choose to think for yourself? Because in that choice, small, daily, unglamorous, lives the last frontier of what it means to be a free human being. The essay Stoic versus AI is not a text about technology. It is a text about the human being, about what he is silently losing while gaining speed, comfort, and efficiency. It is about the invisible price paid every time a thought stops being his and is outsourced to a machine. This distinction is essential, because while the world debates code, algorithms, and machines, the real issue remains human. It is not artificial intelligence that is at stake. It is our own ability to think, to reflect, to endure silence, and to build meaning from I. We live in an era where answers are instant, where any question can be resolved in seconds, where any discomfort can be numbed with stimulation, distraction, or entertainment. But the ancient Stoics understood something we are beginning to forget. The human mind grows stronger through effort, questioning, and silence. When you remove the effort of thinking, you do not only gain time, you lose depth. When you delegate your decisions, you do not only simplify your life, you weaken your autonomy. And this leads us to the central question of T. Sese. Most discussions about artificial intelligence begin with the wrong cue. You question, is it dangerous? Will it attack our jobs? Is it becoming more intelligent than we are? These questions are superficial. The real question is different. What happens to a man who no longer needs to think? What happens to his identity, to his discipline, to his ability to face doubt, boredom, and discomfort? A man who does not think gradually stops knowing himself. And a man who does not know himself becomes easy to manipulate, easy to distract, to control. Stoicism reminds us that the greatest power a human being possesses is mastery over his own mind. Not over the external world, not over circumstances, but over his own thoughts, judgments, and choices. If you surrender that, you surrender everything. Technology is not the enemy. It never was. The real danger is blind dependence, the complete replacement of human reflection with ready-made, instant, and shallow answers. Because when you do not think, someone else thinks for you. And when someone thinks for you, they can also decide for you. The Stoic does not reject progress. He uses it consciously. He uses tools, but never becomes enslaved by them. He consults but does not surrender. He listens but also questions. He learns but also reflects. He understands that efficiency without awareness is simply an elegant way of losing yourself. So the question that should echo in your mind after this essay is simple, yet powerful. Are you still thinking for yourself? Or are you only repeating answers that are already given to you? In the end, the real battle is not between man and machine. It is between consciousness and automation, between presence and distraction, between self-mastery and dependence. And that battle happens every single day inside your own mind. If you made it this far, I sincerely thank you for your time and attention. If this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and stay with us for the next videos. There is still much to explore about the mind, consciousness, stoicism, and the modern world. See you in the next one. Sustain and abstain.